Welcome to our basketball coaching class presented by Basketball Immersion and Lucio Sports, where we provide a platform for top basketball coaches to dive deep into the details. We are excited to have VMI Associate Head Coach and Offensive Coordinator Xavier Silas in the basketball coaching class. At VMI, Silas has been a part of one of the most challenging jobs in Division I college basketball, where he's played a key role in a turnaround under head coach Andrew Wilson. Silas is a uniquely experienced coach, having coached and played in the NBA, G League, and internationally, while being mentored by an NBA father and Missouri's Dennis Gates and Wyoming's Sundance Wicks. Coach Silas, welcome to the basketball coaching class.
I appreciate you having me. I've been looking forward to it.
I have as well, and you've been up to so many good things. And we're going to talk about passing, the art of passing, developing passing, and especially it's important relative to your offense there at VMI. But maybe start framing this for us a little bit in terms of the success that you've had offensively at VMI and part of the reasons why.
First of all, it's always about the players. We've gotten some good players that come in that have the IQ. We recruited IQ and fit, and I think part of that fit is wanting to play for each other. Togetherness squared to me and togetherness squared is something that we use. It's not playing with each other, it's playing for each other. And so that's something that we use. And I'm pretty sure Kelvin Sampson said that in some type of post-game interview. But going from 4 wins last year to 13 wins this year, it's all been about passing, how many passes we pass during the game, and also how we pass, the quality of the passes. It's something that we take very seriously, something that I think that is a big part of our turnaround here at VMI.
Absolutely. And offensively, definitely your team has become very enjoyable to watch. And a lot of that is because of the passing. I know you're going to show some clips to be able to highlight some of the things that you guys emphasize.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll go into it now. One thing that you have to know is that I talked to Ryan Pannone earlier in the year, someone who I was able to coach against in the G League, and I've stayed in touch with him while he's been at Alabama. And one thing that they do at Alabama is they chart the percentage in which your shot goes up and down based on the quality of the pass, right? It's about a 14% difference between a good pass and a bad pass on if you're going to make that shot or not. All right. So in our program, it's very important that guys are able to pass with both hands. Let's start there, right? Passing with both hands. So here's Augustinus Cadulas, who has been great, but this little pass with his left hand right into that pocket is very important. That's something that we teach. It's a drift pass. It's something that we practice, and it seems small, seems simple, but it's something that the passer is thinking about and the receiver is thinking about. Okay, here's another one with Ricky Bradley getting downhill. Okay, and once he gets right there, left hand, he's a right-handed player, left hand right into that shooting pocket is very important, and he's able to knock that down. Okay,
talk to us just quickly as I watch these clips about number one, they're very dynamic. These are off movement, sometimes one hand, sometimes two to one hand, and this is more modern in terms of the approach to passing.
Yes, very much. I remember learning how to pass as a basketball player, and they said it has to be two hands and the thumb has to be down at the end, and it's just not it's not efficient to try to do that all the time. Okay, what we teach is deliver the pass, okay, with the hand that makes sense. All right, so if the defense is on your right side, you can't pass with your right hand, okay? So you need to practice being able to pass with your left hand, being able to pass with your right hand. Doesn't matter what hand you are, those things are very important, okay? Now, another thing that we really emphasize is having plays in our package that have passes built in, okay? And so one thing in this play before I show it, Sundance Wicks and I, this kind of came up with this idea that there should be plays where the hardest actions to guard are in succession, one after the other, and you're just having to deal with these actions. Okay, so what if there was a play that you had to deal with a butt screen? And I'll show you what that is in a minute. You had to deal with an exit screen. You had to deal with a flare. You had to deal with a zoom, all in the same play. And the idea is those actions, when you break down the points per possession, are very hard to guard by themselves. But when you put them back to back to back, that's really hard to guard. And it also is a great way to build in those passes and get the ball movement and getting everybody to touch it, right? And so here's something like that. Okay, so this right there is an opportunity for a butt screen. That butt screen is when Ricky Bradley passes it to Linus Holmstrom. He's able to brush him, almost like that football play that they do, right? And then he would be able to get downhill. Now, he doesn't take that option. He passes it to the top. Okay, we come up here. We're straight into a zoom action, right? And this could be a split if we wanted it to, all right? And then when he comes off, coming off of that bounce action, we have a back door. Hard to guard again. That back door isn't there. We throw it back. Now we're straight into an exit. Okay, that exit didn't there. Augie didn't like it. Okay, now we're straight into a flare. Okay, and we all know that we may slip the flare, and that's what we do, and we get that bucket. Okay, now with all of those options, it's great. But one thing that you have to understand is that is 6 passes, and it's not normal passes. They're very intentional live passes, right? And one thing that I got to college, so I started in the NBA coaching wise. In the NBA, we don't really have false motion, right? That's not something that we really did. Everything is live in the NBA. And so what I try to teach my teams is, look, like every single thing is live. We don't try to have false motion. Everything has to be something where you're a threat. And when you have that and you're doing these actions and you really break it down, that's something that we find some success in.
It strikes me as I watch that, number one, it's conceptual, right? This isn't completely scripted in terms of we know exactly what's going to happen. It's dependent on reading not just the defense, but your teammates as well. But the part that connects to passing for me is the hard part about passing, as you referred to, the way we used to teach passing biomechanically. The hard part is not biomechanical. The hard part is the decision of the type of pass in the moment based on what the advantage is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And going into that, now we always talk about passing as on the passer. And it's not only on the passer, it's on the receiver as well. And so when you have this pass first mentality, now the reason I say pass first mentality is or I should say, I studied how many times we pass when we win versus how many times we pass when we lose. Now, of course, any old school coach will tell you when you pass more and the ball moves and it pops, you're probably going to win, right? More than you lose. Okay. And that was the case for us. So we have a number as a team that when we get to that number, we win 100% of our games. 100% of our games. It's a fact that it's tried and true. Okay. So when we have that pass first mentality, and that's what I mean when I say pass first mentality with our team, the receivers are they're as focused as the passer because they understand that we're trying to pass the ball. I have to be ready. And so here's an example right here. So right there, he's expecting that pass as much as the passer is expecting to pass it. And that's the culture that we have to build. Same thing here. So he's expecting that late pass as much as the passer is expecting to pass it. Okay.
I love that framing of just putting some responsibilities, not just the passer, it's the receiver. No. And I love that fact.
No.
So it speaks to constraints. And I know you're well spoken about constraint-led approach. The benefit of a constraint is obviously it shapes learning. The potential negative is that they just follow the constraint. To say that we want to pass it this many times and we're going to win, the danger is your players just start to pass without a reason to pass, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? When you're playing hard, playing together and staying aggressive, I think that kills the opportunity to just worry about the constraint, right? So you're in the game, we know that's the goal, but I don't even think we talk about the goal during the game. It's a before the game thing. And at halftime, I might peek my head in and say, hey, we're at this amount of passes. We know we're supposed to be halfway, but it's not something that we do during the game. Now, during the game, all I'm preaching, aggressiveness, 0.5 decisions, 0.5 mentality, find each other. And when you're open, shoot it. And it comes out in the wash. Okay, so here's another example, but same thing. The receiver's ready to go. Passer's right on, putting it on the button, and we're exactly where we want to be. All right, same thing here. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Okay, now these, like you said, these are concepts. This is no longer a play. we have put them in a position in practice to understand our concepts and what we want to do when the play breaks down. And we are trusting our guys at this point to go and find something in our world, right? In our world and how we want to do it. Okay. Another one. Okay. So Ton gets downhill, gets to that box. Good shot. We'll take it. He got down into the lower part of the paint. Now, if you're going to preach 14% passes, and that's what we call them, 14%, because we want the best shot for our guys. And that means that we're going to hit them in the shot pocket. You have to practice tough passes. Now, this is a pass that we practice, which is opposite wing to that corner. The low man's all the way over helping. Okay. And we practice this pass. And it's something that, because we've practiced this so many times, everyone's ready. The passer's ready for it. The receiver's ready for it. Same one here. Same one. And we call that Ginobili pass, right? That over the head kind of pass. And that's something that we always do.
Wait, can
Now,
you just reemphasize the 14%? What does that number mean?
I'm noticing, and we've all noticed this, but with Alabama's staff, they charted everything and they said, look, it's a 14% difference. All right. When you pass a good pass, it's a 14% difference on if the guy's going to make it or not. And so what we did was we took that, put it into our program, and it's something that seems so elementary and so simple. And something that, as a coach, everybody, and players too, everybody, oh, the pass makes the shot. But after studying it and after really making it a part of our culture, our players yell 14% to each other. If it's off, they're yelling, hey, 14%, right? Because it's a part of our culture, but it's also something that's very important. The object of the game is to score more points than the opponent. And we're trying to do that. And we're trying to take every measure to make sure that's possible. There you
go. Yeah. Love that. Love the connection between a lot of these concepts to obviously style of play, principles of play. And that's such an important part of this. Now, you've referenced a few times some of these dynamic passes. Can you go into how do you actually practice them? Because this is not a static, standstill, pass back and forth type of drill.
No, not at all. There's a few ways. One, in every single pass in our practice, it's live. Okay. No matter what we're doing, I think people get caught up in, okay, for this 10 minutes, we're going to practice this. You can't do that. The entire time we're on the court, whether we're doing something and a player is rebounding the ball and passing it to another player or coach, we are emphasizing 14%. And I'm talking about not just emphasizing, holding them accountable, and we are on them for 14%. And that means a snap pass, follow through on the pass, wherever you're at, make sure that it's a solid pass. Now, that's one way. The other way is coaches should never pass to players when they're shooting. They should never, like after practice, if your players are getting shots up, players should be passing to players. Now, you can pass to a player that's going to pass to a player. That's fine. But the pass that goes into the shot should always come from that's a rep. And I like to steal reps. I love to steal
reps. Such a mundane point, but almost every college practice I go to, it's coaches passing to or managers passing to. And I could not agree more.
No, you can't do that because that's not game-like. That's not efficient. To me, I'm all about efficiency. How can something be more efficient? And to me, you are wasting reps if you're standing back out there. I am going to put my best foot forward when I'm passing to a player into his shot, right? But you know what? In this SoCon tournament on Friday, I'm not going to be passing to our shooters, right? And so where can we steal a rep? After practice, before practice, instead of the coaches and managers passing, hey, I'll pass to a player and that player passes to our player, and it better be right, and it better be 14%. And if the right hand is on the outside, then it better be with your right hand. If the left hand is on the outside, it better be with that left hand. All right, let's steal those reps.
Can I just add to that? I get it why coaches do it because a player will get more shots in a shorter amount of time. Right. But the trade-off is they don't get representative shots, representative passes from a teammate that actually throw them. So sacrifice some of the volume of reps and get more realistic is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And I don't, the passing rep is just as important as the shooting rep. So you're actually doubling your reps. That's how I look at it. You're doubling game reps. You're not just getting a guy getting shot reps, you're getting a guy that's getting passing reps and shot reps. And so now to me, that's 50% more production. And I think that's huge. And it's something that we try to do when we can. I mean, it's a huge part of what we do.
It's such an amazing point to be able to highlight for people. And again, whether you change or you don't change, this will stimulate your thinking about how you develop passing, because I think coaches generally, one of the things they would suggest is, oh, players don't know how to pass nowadays. But it's because we've taken away so many pass opportunities from them. We do perfection drills where there's no decision associated with the pass, or literally in your example, they're not passing. How do you develop passing? You pass. How do you develop dribbling? You dribble. Can you give us some more examples of how you hold them accountable within game-based play, within practice, to these passes?
Another one I stole from you with our time at Missouri, which is I'll have a guy start on the wing and you're going to drive. Now there's two other people, corner and opposite wing. Okay. When he drives and gets downhill, I have one defender that's going to choose which person that he's going to guard. That's a game time rep, game time read, and you still are holding them accountable to make that 14%. And then sometimes he doesn't guard any of them, and you're going to have to finish. And so that is another way where, as many times as we can put guys in game-like situations where they're making reads and you're still holding them accountable to make game shots and passes, that's something that we do. And it's as simple as having one defender, 3 players, and you're making a read on who to pass it to and who's open.
It's really simple, isn't it? Just add a defender and you add this distracting information, this visual stimuli that represents the game. And I think too often we get caught up, and I know you've experienced this, caught up in what's game like is game speed. Oh, we got to be 100% intensity. But we know that passing is not always 100% intensity, right? There's these different changes of speed, these different changes of level. So talk to us about that as well, this dynamic part of passing.
It's always 100% focused though. We talk about intensity. One thing that we talk about, and this is a Dennis Gates thing, is no gaps. We can't have gaps, right? We can't blink. And with passing, it's not like a very strenuous physical thing, but are your hands up ready to catch the ball, right? To have a clean, or are you bringing your hands up while it's happening, right? You should already have your hands up. Okay. If you're bringing your hands up, that's a gap, right? Okay. Now, when you catch it, are you following through on that pass or are you flicking it? Okay. So all of these things you don't have to have a drill specific to this. It's a mentality and a culture all the time. So when we talk about passing being dynamic, it's just something that you have to stay on the guys about on every single rep. So we have a one more drill where very simple, everybody just stands around the 3-point line and we swing it all the way around. That drill has so many opportunities to coach passing. Are you down and ready to receive the ball as a receiver? Then when you get it, what's the energy like taking the ball from receiving it and passing it for that one more, right? There's so many opportunities to coach passing. And I think that we let go of the rope a little bit as coaches because it's just something that we're not thinking about, but we should be, right?
Where do you stand? And again, a lot of old cliches exist in basketball. Where do you stand on jumping to pass?
I think that it's necessary sometimes. Basketball is like jazz. There is a script. There is a sheet of music that the song, we read the song as a musician, a jazz musician, they have a script, a sheet of music. But as we know, they go off script all the time. And that's what makes jazz. With basketball, we have plays, but we're going to go off script. And you know why? Because there's a lot of good coaches that are going to make you go off script, right? And sometimes you're going to have to jump out of bounds and throw a drift pass, right? Sometimes, and because of that, I like to try to practice those things that are quote unquote off script, right? And you have to, because basketball is naturally going to make you do something that you don't necessarily want to do. And most likely you haven't practiced. But if you can figure out those things, and this is what you're about, right? If you can figure out those things that basketball is going to make you do and then practice them, then you have an advantage. And that's something that coming from you and your tree that we try to do.
Basketball is about problem solving. And the more absolutes you give players, the less opportunity they have to solve a problem, right? So if you say you absolutely must jump stop on every pass and you must point 10 fingers towards the target, all this other stuff, then you're limiting players rather than affording them the opportunity to be able to solve a problem. And I think you know that, having played at so many different levels, NBA, internationally, G League, and coached at all those levels, which is a remarkable thing. Such a unique background you have. And you're so poised to be a future head coach because of all these experiences. But you played with players that if you said they have to do everything traditional, they wouldn't be able to solve the problem, would they?
You know what? You hit the nail on the head with something. Being able to play all over the world and see different people do different things in different ways. So things can be so different, even with feeding the post, right? In another country, they may feed the post completely different than we do. We do the traditional catch it, fake a pass to make a pass. Okay. In Greece, they weren't taught that way. They may not have been taught that way. And so for me to see all these different ways, you can skin a cat in a lot of different ways. You really can. And that's what I've learned with my experiences is listen. And what's funny, we have a lot of international guys on our team. So we have a Swedish national team player, a Turkish national team player, and a Lithuanian national team player. And all of them do things differently. They get into their shots differently. They get into their layups differently, different free throw routines, even down to the way that they get ready for games, right? And you can't get so caught on, oh, there's only one way to do something, because if you do, you're leaving a lot of opportunities out there for your players, and it's a disservice to them.
Coach Silas, like I'll be honest, I'm not sure I've been a part of a better conversation about passing and then developing passing, and we haven't shown a drill.
No, and you know what? We don't have a passing drill, right? It's me and our coaching staff, and we have an amazing coach. Andrew Wills does a great job of just holding us accountable to coach every rep. And when you have a leader and a head coach that makes you coach every rep, then you start to realize, oh, wait a minute, I could be coaching this. Oh, I could be coaching that. And one thing that I just started to obsess about is the passing, right? Because at the end of the day, we know how much it affects scoring. And being the offensive coordinator, I hang my hat on how much we score and trying to outscore the other team. And you won't come to our practice and see a passing drill. Now you'll see passing in our drills, right? And you'll see them being held accountable probably more than you ever have to the type of passes and with the game speed and game intensity for passes on every rep, because that's something that we believe in. And I think that everybody can do that. I think it would make the game better if everybody did it.
One last thing as we wrap this up, obviously future goals to be a head coach. You're on that path. You keep working. You've had so many great experiences, including this one at VMI. What is some advice to coaches, young rising coaches like yourself, about continuing to stay focused and develop your craft so that you can continue to grow?
It's a competition, right? And all of us are competitive. And so how are you outworking your competitors? And when I say the competitors, how are you outworking the other assistant coaches in your position? And are you grinding? Are you getting in earlier than them? Are you watching more film? Are you bringing the energy more than them? For me, my advice is to compete. Continue to compete, because it's not only going to make you better, it's going to make everybody else around you better. It's going to make your competitors better, right? It's going to make me better. If I see someone that's doing something and it feels like they're outworking me, then I'm going to try to outwork them. And so for me, I think that's it. I think that as young coaches, we can get caught up in, oh, we've arrived. Oh, they gave me assistant coach or associate head coach. Or we've arrived, so we can chill and we can go and go hang out and grab a coffee. I don't think that's necessarily the case. And of course, making sure that you find that balance because that came off really crazy, and I am. But you also have to find that balance with your family and your loved ones and your significant others and your kids to make sure that you're there for them as well. And to me, I approach it as competing at that too, being able to show up for my family as much as I can and be there and be the best present dad that I can be when I can, especially during the season. As we all know, it gets crazy.
I love that approach. And I know from many of our offline conversations that you're a hungry learner, you ask great questions, and you're always just looking for a better way. And I love that approach. And it's going to serve you well as you continue to rise in this career of yours. And yeah, I can't thank you enough for creating this amazing resource on passing and the value of passing. Thank you so much, Coach Silas.
I appreciate it, Chris. Good. I appreciate you having me. I love what you do.
Thanks for watching the Basketball Coach Class. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And check out luciosports.com and basketballimmersion.com today.